I was, and I pray that you will allow me to be honest. While in the church, I became an alcoholic.
Wow.
I became a crackhead. I became a heroin addict. And I was a prostitute. In the church, trying to cover what I really felt on the inside. If I must say, it was a mask that I wore because I had a face for the church people, but inside me, there was this thing. And then to top it all, people of God, when I was in the church, there was a problem in my family concerning situations with my children or my child, and I worked for a lawyer. Now, I'm on public TV, so I don't really have anything to hide.
That's right.
I worked for a lawyer who loved me and gave me a chance of a lifetime. Nothing promiscuous about the love. He just loved me, gave me a chance to work in a law firm. My passion was wanting to be a lawyer, and since I wasn't a lawyer, I became a paralegal and a legal secretary. This man allowed me to work for him, and because of the embarrassment of what I was going through, and that thing was, I embezzled $23,000 from a man who trusted me. Because singing about learning how to trust in Jesus, telling other folk how to have faith in God and have confidence in him, when it hit me, God help me tonight, when it hit me,
yes,
I did not have enough confidence in God to trust him to bring me out. So I took matters in my own hand. But this is the victory of the testimony, Prophetess Bynum. When I went to court, and see, in my little town in Atlantic City, they have a thing about them where if you ever make a mistake, they don't give you a chance to get it together. They don't restore such a one in the spirit of meekness. So after all of that, and I went to court, the folk were passing around the newspaper articles. They were calling folk and telling them what I had done and what I had been through. And people liked it because the devil had already said she'd never be anything.
yes, yes,
The
yes.
devil had already said, ain't nothing to her. She can preach, but ain't nothing to her. She sounds good, but there's nothing to her. So let me tell you about my God. When I went to court, and I was standing there before the judge, and the judge looked at me, and I watched people before that going off before me. The judge was having a bad day, I suppose, and the people before me, he was carting them out. The bailiff was taking them out by the side, and he was giving them 30 days, 60 days, a year, 18 months. And when it came to me, when they called my name, and I stood there, and I was so afraid. I'd already packed my little toothbrush, and I already packed my little underwear, because I just knew I was going off to jail. But when I stood there in the courtroom, thank you, Jesus, and the judge looked at me, and he said, Mrs. Lyles, how do you want to serve your time? And I said to him, do I have a choice? He said, yes. He said, you can do weekends or you can do all the days. So when he began to read off what I had done and began to talk about my sentence, he said, 5 years suspended. God help me in here. Can I stand up? He said, 5 years suspended. And he kept on talking. And then he said, 30 days. And he said, you can do them on weekends. And understand this, I did not go to jail that day. I went home. He said, go home and put your affairs in order. I went home and he said, report back here next Friday night at 6 o'clock. And you know, he said, if you don't come back, there will be a bench warrant for your arrest. Well, you got to know that that next Friday night I was there. When I went to jail, what should have been 30 days turned into 12 days. But while I was in jail and the church folk were talking, my God, while I was in jail and the church folk were judging,